Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I have yet another movie review for you all. This movie is a horror comedy from Japan, Japanese language English subs, released in the year 2017, directed by Shinichiro Ueda, and this film is called One Cut of the Dead. So One Cut of the Dead is about an aspiring filmmaker. He has finally got his opportunity when a company hires him to do a horror film, a zombie horror movie, as part of a TV series. And so he sees this as an opportunity too good to refuse. He's very, very excited about it. So he takes his cast and crew to this abandoned warehouse, which is the setting for the horror film, and he commences shooting. But then as the movie progresses, he realises outside there might be real zombies, and those real zombies are about to lay siege upon the film set. So what starts off as a movie turns into a real fight for survival, which adds up to a shocking surprise that is going to take everyone off guard. So what that surprise is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on One Cut of the Dead. This was a highly anticipated horror comedy when it comes to me. I love Japanese horror comedies. I love Japanese cinema in general. I love the country of Japan. So anytime a movie comes along from Japan, especially ones that are very much hyped, I'm very excited to see. So this won a lot of awards. This is a prime example that just because it's an independent horror comedy doesn't mean it can't be a success, because it actually appealed to a broad audience and it won back a lot of money. So this is very encouraging for other filmmakers as far as independent cinema is concerned. If you have a creative film, it can be a very successful experience, a very successful project. And I think that these films are much more enticing than mega budget mainstream movies, because mega budget mainstream films, they can fall back on their special effects, whereas independent films don't have that sort of, they don't have that luxury. And I think that can be a blessing in disguise. So I thought to myself, all right, well, this is a recipe for something that I'm not going to forget. Basically, this has a massive score on IMDb. So the fact that this was one of the most hyped films I'd come across in a very long time had me very excited, and I was really having my fingers crossed that this was going to be like Shaun of the Dead. Now this has been compared to Shaun of the Dead, so to say that is another big thing. So I thought to myself, what is the fuss all about? And I was hoping that it would live up to those expectations. But at the end of the day, I will say that One Cut of the Dead is one of the most disappointing experiences I've had, because it come nowhere near the expectation. But I'm not fooling myself to say this is a bad movie, because it's not a bad film. But I thought as though the expectations create something that is imaginary. It's not something that you actually get from the experience. And so I can see a lot of people being very frustrated at the marketing of this film, because if you go in there expecting a genuine horror comedy, then you're going to be bitterly disappointed. Is because surprisingly, I didn't find this film very funny at all. A lot of people are saying this is insanely funny, but it made me smile once. Now I know humour is subjective. Just because I didn't find it very funny doesn't mean the next person's going to find it very funny. And this is a review based on my perspective. Don't forget that. So if you love this movie, don't get all angry. Just come across and state your opinion. And this is what filmmaking, film reviewing is all about. So people can come together and share their experiences. But for me, just the fact that a lot of people are saying this is insanely funny, this is scary, this was inventive. Now I will say this movie is incredibly inventive, and it's a very hard film to review, because if I give away too much, then basically the surprise is spoiled. And a lot of film reviewers out there have actually spoiled this movie, so they go a little bit too far. So I'm not going to give you too much insight into the story, just how I thought and how disappointed I was, because this is a film that is very misleading. This is a movie that is capitalising on the fact that there are a lot of horror comedy fans out there, but you go into this movie and you're going to get a movie that will surprise you. As I said, the twist is very out there, and I wasn't expecting that, but unfortunately, it just comes across as a pedestrian movie. I just thought it was pedestrian. It was okay, but it was just ordinary. And so you don't have this insanely great, inventive horror film that everyone is talking about. You just got a smart movie. It's a movie that did have a level of intelligence, it did have a level of charm, but unfortunately it's just nothing special. And I don't know why it was compared to Shaun of the Dead, because it was nowhere near that in my opinion. I just thought the acting, the characters were very bland, and for a movie of this sort of nature to work, it needed better characters, and I just didn't really gravitate to any of them. And as I said, the humour just didn't work, and that was something that was really disappointing, because a lot of horror comedies from Japan have really worked, because I found them very funny, but I just didn't think the script worked. I thought as though it was a charming kind of film, and it was a goofy kind of film, but it just didn't elevate to a level of a laugh out loud, insanely funny movie. And so that was something that I thought was really, really disappointing. And I come away from this movie feeling shortchanged. I felt as though did I watch the same film? And it's like you're promised to have, you buy a car, and you're promised, that this is never going to break down. This is going to be the car of your dreams. But when you start it up and you start driving, halfway through it breaks down, and you think to yourself, well, I was told that this car was going to be something that it's not. And ultimately, that's how I felt about this film. Is that, all right, at the end of it, I thought, well, I didn't find that very funny. It wasn't very scary. Yes, it took me by surprise, the twist, and it is a creative sort of twist, but it's a twist that was nothing special. And so at the end of the day, what it is a film that just goes along on one line. It doesn't elevate itself to insane sort of moments that the movie promises. It just comes across as something that you'll forget. And so, as I said, I'm going to be very vague in this review because I don't want to give it away. But basically, it's a film that I just thought was going to be a lot better than it was. It didn't take many risks. I thought it was very watered down. And so, as I said, it's a charming movie, but unfortunately, there's just a lot of aspects that I was expecting a lot more from. And unfortunately, I came away from this movie feeling really shortchanged. I was bitterly disappointed. One of the most anticlimactic films I have seen in a very long time. I don't share the love for One Cut of the Dead. And so, for me, I would say go out there and see it because, as I said, there are people that are going to like this, but unfortunately the way it's marketed, it's basically selling a movie that it really isn't. And so that was something I really found disappointing, and that's the reason why I'm only going to give One Cut of the Dead 2 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.